User in your channel is recording.
So, do we have any plans on reaching, let's say, key figures in the scientific world to see if they can not advocate but support or just state that they support, sort of get the scientists on our side in a way, in simple words?
Well, we have been trying that since years, but as far as I know, no.
Is it something that we should look into? Is it something that we should try and contact?
Sure.
I mean, we obviously get a lot of inspiration and rely on scientific studies from individuals, key figures. It's just right that we need them on our side in a way. This is the proof. This is the sort of strength that we need, the support from them.
Sure, Shomer. Like Mark says, note, always do that. It's always to keep your, let's say, credentials in certain way from the scientific point of view and persons who have that environment.
Obviously, if you could get Machio Kaku or somebody, it'll be great. But I don't think they would support TZM. But then again, if you do know someone that is on the top bracket of scientific world, try it. I mean, if he could get help, it's perfect.
Well, in any case, not only in scientific way, but in the whole environment, with personalities. In the last years, we have remember Russell Brand, the actor, talking about TVP and TCM. So something like that. It's always good to make some noise about the sustainability movement.
Yes, I'm thinking about either an official approach to those individuals, or from the movement, or we do it in a sporadic way, sort of as the advocates, basically as us going in and sending private emails or asking to see their opinions and thoughts. So just wanted to figure out if you're doing it on an individual level or we're doing it as the movement.
Yeah.
As a movement, sorry, Nelson. As a movement, we haven't actually done it to the scientific world, but us as a movement, we haven't approached. I don't think we've approached any of the scientific community. So you can't really say as a movement we are pushing for it right now. What we are trying to do is we are trying to get the structure together, so we will stand a little bit taller than what we are used to now. So there are internal things that we are trying to make changes. Soon it's probably going to be announced in the next international meeting. So far we are trying to get a different version of, I'm not sure if I should even say this. Should I say this, Nelson?
Sure.
Okay, so we are trying to get a different version of the GCA, basically bring in another team that will actually support all parts of the movement, because we have a lot of moving parts: the lecture team, the people in the Zeit News, people in different things. So we are trying to get a team together where it will support all the parts of the movement at the same time and have communications going and hold international meetings at the same time. So once we restructure everything and bring the website into the same, align with the same intensity, we would get things rolling again. After 10 years, it's been quite a ride. So we have to reorganize ourselves for the next decade.
Well, I need to.
I think you go.
Okay, thank you, Semi. Well, I need to put a side note on that. It's not official yet, but we're working on that. And back into the Chambers idea of scientific people, the suggestion is not only invite that people, you can send, for example, the first version that we have of the TCM movement, realizing a new train of thought. I think there's coming a new version of that, but you can send that book to the person who you want to invite. And an example of that, to be briefly, was a couple of years ago here in Chile. We have some big lecture that is held by the government. And at that lecture was Jeremy Rifkin talking about, sustainability, and a couple of guys of the Chilean chapters put the book in his hands. So from there, if that person is interested, the only thing that is read the book, and there's a lot of information and contacts. So if you want to invite some scientific person, it's always to send the book. Always good.
I agree that the book plays a key role here, but I don't think it will serve a purpose as the initial attractive factor. It has to be something simpler, something more intuitive that talks to people in order to start a conversation, to break the ice with the scientific, or making like a short video we have tons of videos obviously, but something that will attract the attention, and then we can delve into more specific as a general note, I'll say that if we want this to succeed, in my opinion, if we want this to succeed, then we rely on the scientific studies and experiments, and we have to get the support of those people, of the scientists. Without it, we lose credibility. I think we lose credibility if we can't get the scientists that we rely on our side.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Can I just say that if we want the scientists on our side, we might have to consider that they might be fearful of losing their credibility if they are associating themselves with us.
I can talk a little bit about that, because I'm a scientist. I work in the university for 10 years, and I've done a lot of research, and I agree with the Zeitgeist movement. So I know a lot of scientists that, for example, in the conference I met, Schumer, you still have a sound on. I met some scientists from Germany and the Netherlands, Holland, and France, and they were like 50, 60 years old, and I told them to them about the Zeitgeist movement, and one of them knew about it, and actually we have a nice talk, and they were not too much afraid of losing credibility. They just agree with the scientific method, because that's what we stand for. And, so I think it will not be too much difficult to get a considerable number of scientists supporting the movement if the movement goes in that direction.
Agree.
Well,
agree.
All right. On a more continuous basis. I mean, not just in a meeting.
Yeah. Was you who said the scientific they maybe had some fear on lost credibility with the rest of scientists, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
It's easy. In my situation, it was easy because I was there in equal stand foot, the same as them, and I was talking about it. So Zeitgeist movement isn't got their attention as like crazy theories and stuff like that, conspiracy theories. And I think we must go apart from that kind of ideas, and we should be like serious stuff, and we are a scientific, proactive, communication active movement. I'm like Nelson. I'm not native English, so it's difficult to express. But I think you get it.
Thanks for your empathy, Simi. But Oxygen have a good point there, and I want to mention, for example, I remember a C-Day with Gabor Mate. That person came from the traditional establishment of scientists. He always start a talk if he want to talk about the TCM. He always starts saying, "I'm not part of the TCM. I'm not a member. I'm a friend. I'm just a friend." And at that time, I remember in the C-Day he said, "For Zeitgeist moving forward, I didn't know it was a documentary. I didn't know what I will be in a documentary, in a movie. It was just a talk, and I'm not sure. But if you said that, well, you can keep quiet about the rest of the traditional establishment of scientists."
I'm not sure I got the last part, but I have watched many videos of Gabor Mate, and I think he's absolutely awesome.
Yeah. What I said is, if the scientist person is interested in talk about TCM ideas, that's a way of doing, because Gabor Mate always, if you push Gabor Mate to talk about TCM, he will be saying, "I'm not a member, I'm not part of the TCM, I'm just a friend of the TCM," and that's really that sounds really good.
All right.
Can I say something? Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, well, I was just thinking, like, in my experience with talking with people who are not members of TZM and do not necessarily even accept the resource-based economy as a solution, one of the biggest confusions is the fact that TZM seems to be centered around criticisms of capitalism much more than it's centered around any action, and much more than it's centered around actually gathering people together to set out on any sort of specific projects. And the problem with that is that the criticisms of capitalism are easy to do. And a lot of the things that TZM criticizes capitalism for are the same things that communism has and socialism has traditionally criticized capitalism for. And so there's this confusion where people begin to assume that TZM is simply a neo-Marxist sort of an organization. And the problem with it is just there needs to be less criticism, I think, of capitalism, and less focus on that and more focus on evolution of our species past capitalism. We have to stop being an opposition party, and we need to start being a collaboration party. And I speak not as a member of TZM. This is actually my first meeting, but I am a huge RBE proponent and supporter.
Who's this guy?
TeamSpeak user.
Okay, I'm just going to mute him. That's it. There was somebody named TeamSpeak. I don't know if it's a real person or just...
User in your
and it
channel was
keeps...
banned
Okay,
from the
move it.
server.
Yeah. And he's gone. Okay, good. All right.